This video provides an overview for instructors of the revised IST 7100 course. There are lots of changes, so let's start with the syllabus. The revised syllabus is based upon the recommendations from the ACM. The ACM and the IEEE are the two leading IT organizations that make curricular recommendations, and these are the recommendations from the ACM based upon their 2016 draft. We started the course development before their recommendations were finalized. They pretty much follow the ACM recommendations with just a few minor things that we took out, and there was one supplemental objective that we added, which was to demonstrate a knowledge of ethical codes and behaviors. Within the course, there is an assignment each week that's either a short paper or a presentation, or in week 7, the final IT strategy and a discussion board. If the course starts on Monday, then the discussion board is due on Thursday. And the reason that I set this up, and you can certainly change this, but the reason that I set it up with the discussion board due on Thursday rather than Wednesday, for instance, was there's quite a bit of reading each week, and I wanted to make sure the students had time to do that before posting to the discussion board. There are 5 short papers. All of them should be in APA format. There's a final IT strategy, and then there is one presentation. And this shows the schedule. If your course is a hybrid course that is taught on Thursday, for instance, then the initial posting to the discussion board is due 4 days after the class is given, and the assignment for the week, the written assignment or the presentation, is due 7 days after the class, according to the way I've set this up. But that's certainly something that you can change. Please encourage your students to go through the Start Here section. There's quite a bit of information here. As noted, the course includes about 100 pages of reading each week. So that's something we want to make sure the students understand up front. In addition to the Blackboard tutorials, I've also included a tutorial on how to use the Wilmington University Library. And I've included a section on the main course menu with a link here. So here it is on the main course menu, with information about how to use APA, since that's the standard used for the student papers. So let me walk through the material each week. In week 1, the main focus is on strategy models and the strategic use of information. Each week includes a series of readings and videos, a discussion board, and either a written assignment or a presentation. The way the course is set up is if there's some general readings, there's a section on that. The discussion board link will take the student to the discussion board for that assignment, and then the written assignment or presentation is included for the week. The resources specific to an assignment are linked to that assignment, and likewise there are some specific resources for the discussion board. So I'll go through all the discussion board assignments after I go through the weekly walkthrough of the course. I've included the same video from the Start Here section on how to use the Wilmington University Library. So for this first assignment, I've suggested some search terms for the library that I've already checked out to help the students find 2 peer-reviewed articles from academic journals. So many of our graduate courses say from professional resources. In this case, for week 1, I was very specific. I want the students to use 2 peer-reviewed articles. In week 2, the focus is on IT strategic sourcing and ethical considerations. The discussion board covers the ethical considerations, and the written assignment for this week focuses on the IT strategic sourcing. There are some general readings this week. I have the students go through all of the chapters in the textbook at some point in the course. The reason for that is, ideally, the students should be taking IST 7100 after they've taken the lower level 7000, 7020, 7040, and 7060 courses. However, they don't have to. And so, for instance, if they take 7100 before they've taken IST 7040, which focuses on computer and networks, I've included the chapter on computer and networks in this course material. For the students that have already taken the lower level 7000 courses, this chapter will be a review for them rather than new material. As I mentioned, the discussion board this week focuses on the IT ethical considerations, and we'll take a look at all of the discussion board questions later on. Once again, to get the students used to using the library, I'm asking them to find 2 peer-reviewed articles from academic journals regarding IT sourcing. In week 3, the focus is on how IT can be used competitively in the marketplace. In this case, I've included a case study of Starbucks. This is actually a business case study that a student at Harvard did, but it does a very nice job of showing how the strategic models from week 1 can be used within a case study. What I'm asking the student this week is to take the business recommendations and to choose 3 of the 10 recommendations in the case study and discuss how IT could be used to implement that particular recommendation. And there's several chapters for them to read and videos to give them ideas on how IT might be used for the recommendations in the Starbucks case study. In week 4, the emphasis is on how IT could be used inside institutions, and in this case, I've used some case studies associated with a SWOT analysis, an analysis of internal strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And there are 6 case studies provided at this website that the students can choose from. Once again, there are several chapters that could be helpful as the students look at more effective and efficient ways to operate business functions internally using IT. In this particular week, the assignment is a presentation. In the previous weeks, it's a short paper. The weeks build upon each other, so it'll be important as an instructor to give the students feedback on their assignments before the next week begins. And for that reason, I've kept the written assignments short. In week 4, one of the other things I've included is a link to strategy resources. That's an item on the main menu. And what I've done is, beginning in week 4, I've included a link to this section that shows all of the strategy resources used in the previous week. So if the student is looking for the Toyota case study, for instance, because they want to reread that, it might be applicable to the assignment that they're working on in a subsequent week. They can go to this one location. They don't have to search through week 1, week 2, week 3 to find a particular strategy resource that they're looking for. And hopefully this will also be helpful for you as an instructor. In week 5, the emphasis is on IT governance and ethics again. In this case, the students will compare governance models, and I've included quite a few links here for them to use as reference materials. In week 6, the students will learn how to develop an IT strategy, and that's to prepare them for the week 7 assignment. And as part of that, as on the discussion board, which I'll go over a little bit later, they'll be posting a financial analysis. I've included a list where there are dozens of small business case studies that have been posted in the New York Times for the students to select from. So hopefully for the IT strategy work, they'll have a lot of different choices and you won't be seeing the same case study over and over again. There's also an excellent video, it's about an hour long, that I've included here that talks about how to do an IT strategy. In week 7, the students will develop an IT strategy for the case that they chose in week 6, and I've included a template for them to use so that they know the sections to be included in the IT strategy. And once again, there's a link to the spot on the main menu with all of the strategy resources to date. So let's take a look at the discussion board. The way the course template is set up is that the resources associated with the discussion board topic are included as a link within the discussion board. So in week 1, the students will be asked to talk about strategy models, specifically the Michael Tracy model on value disciplines. Week 2, the focus is on computer ethics on the discussion board. In week 3, the discussion concerns the Michael Porter 5 Competitive Forces strategic model, and it's based upon a Toyota case study. This case study was done by a student at Harvard. It focuses on the business aspects of Toyota and is a good example of how to apply the strategy models. In week 4, there's an additional video from Michael Porter. He runs the Strategy Center at Harvard. And the purpose of this discussion board is to use the information that he provides about the 3 waves of IT. And the way he describes IT is the first wave being automating individual functions, the second wave integrating value chains, either value chains within an organization or supply chains across companies. And then he talks about the third wave associated with integrating IT, incorporating IT into the product and service offerings itself. So I thought that would make a pretty interesting discussion. Also in week 4, the assignment is to create a Kaltura presentation. Once the students do that, I've included a link on the discussion board so that they can post the Kaltura presentation they've created for the other students to see. In week 5, I have the students draft an IT policy focusing on privacy, and I've included a link in the chapter on ethical risks and responsibilities of IT, which certainly from a privacy policy point of view has some ethical considerations. In week 6, as they're beginning to do their IT strategy, the discussion board is based upon doing a financial analysis, and I've included a template for the students to use. So the students should research what the cost might be for the IT strategy they're proposing, and also recommend what they believe the benefits will be, hopefully based upon case studies that they've found in the library for companies that have done something similar to what they're recommending. In week 7, the students will be submitting their IT strategy as their assignment, and for the discussion board topic, I'm asking them to talk about the sustainability of what they're recommending. And by sustainability, what I mean is the ongoing maintenance, ongoing enhancements associated with the IT applications. And that's why the chapter from the textbook on the systems development lifecycle is attached, and there are some videos associated with maintaining a portfolio of projects or enhancements to applications. Let me show you the resources that are available to you as an instructor. This video will be posted as the walkthrough tutorial in the course. Also, I've provided a link to the companion site for the textbook. There are additional resources there, but everything that you should need to teach the course should be in this course template. However, if you want to make changes to the course, you can use the additional resources from the companion website for the textbook if you want. You'll have to register for this because the information on this website is only available to instructors. And it may take a week or two for your registration to be approved by the textbook publisher. So please keep that in mind. I've also provided a course overview for those of you who like to see the big picture. So what the course overview does is just in one Word document go over the objectives and assignments for each week. You may find it helpful to use the consolidation of the strategy resources that I put together for the students. So I provided a link for you. And you also may find it helpful to look at the section I created for the students regarding the APA resources. Because the chapter PowerPoints are spread throughout the course, and you might want to change the sequence a little bit, I've included all of the chapter PowerPoints here just to make it a little bit easier for you. And also there's the link to the Blackboard site providing help for instructors, and if you want to use Blackboard Collaborate to meet with your students online in real time, there's information on how to do that. Let's get into the Grade Center briefly. The Grade Center is set up with 2 assignments each week, a weekly discussion board, and a paper or project. If we look at the column organization, that might make it a little bit easier. You can see how each of the items that will need grading are organized in the discussion board. I also wanted to show you how the weighted total is set up. There's one category for the discussions, and that is 20%. The week 4 presentation is 10%. The other weekly papers are 50%, and there's 5 of them, so each paper is set up as 10% of the total grade. And then the final strategy paper is worth twice as much as the weekly papers. The rubrics associated with the assignments are built into the assignment links to make that easy for you, and they are also included here as PDFs for the students and of course the instructors to be able to readily see. There are 3 different rubrics. This is the rubric associated with the discussion board each week. So students get a certain number of points for responses to other students, and the rest of the points are associated with the content of what they post. This is the rubric for the written papers. The same rubric is for the 5 short weekly papers, the 3 or 4 page papers each week, as well as the final IT strategy. In week 4, instead of a paper, there's a presentation, and this is the rubric associated with the presentation. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that this course is set up for individual assignments, but for those weeks in which the student is doing a case study, you could set those up as group assignments rather than individual assignments. I didn't set up groups because sometimes it's difficult for students to work in groups if they're online, or time isn't allocated within the hybrid courses for the group work, but that's certainly an option that you have as an instructor, and the case studies would lend themselves nicely, I believe, to group work.